Hello, this tutorial is to help you set up an encoder using the SAM Broadcaster. For this purpose, we'll be using SAM Broadcaster version 4.7.1, which at the time of this recording is the latest and greatest. You may be using an older one, so some things might be a little bit different. And of course, as time progresses, a new version will eventually have things that are different than what I'm showing you now. So what you see here is desktop A in my SAM Broadcaster, and yes, there are many windows open, but believe it or not, I use each and every one of these every time I broadcast. So we want to make sure that your encoders are set up properly. We want to make sure that your encoder window is available and in view. If you do not see it in your desktop, what you need to do is go ahead and click on Window and then click on Encoders. The encoder window should pop up somewhere on the desktop. Now I do want to preface this, just because I have all these windows here that you see on my desktop doesn't mean you have to have them this way. You need to set up your windows the way it works for you. This just works very well for me. So in your encoder window, you'll see that you have a little drop down menu, and basically all the commands that you need to create an encoder, to stop, start, etc. are right here. They are also found along this line right here. So let's get started. What I want to say now is you see a blue button and a red button. Make sure that blue button is pushed in, or else you may not be heard properly. So to set up an encoder, you want to click on the plus key, and you'll be given a menu with different plugins. What we recommend is the MP3 Lame Encoder, but if you're at an older version and you don't have that encoder, we do suggest you use MP3 Normal or MP3 Pro. Now remember that with MP3 Pro, you can only stream up to 96 kilobits per second. Once you've selected your encoder, which is going to be MP3 Normal, MP3 Lame Encoder, or MP3 Pro, click OK. Now you come to this window. Again, if you have an older version, this will look a little different. I believe one of your selections is quality, and I can tell you that with the older versions, I would use the medium quality. It's up to you if you want to use high, low, or medium. But since we're using the Lame Encoder, this is what you get. So I'm going to select my bitrate of 128, and we're going to select stereo. And in the sampling rate, we're going to go ahead and select 44/100. Over here, we're going to leave things as they are. This item down here basically says that if you should drop the stream, SAM will try to reconnect to the server 15 seconds after the drop. So we're going to leave that the way it is and click on Server Details up here. You want to make sure that Shoutcast is selected, because that is the server tab that we're working about here. And then you should have gotten some details regarding your server. It should have included an IP number or an address. It should have included a port number and a password. So what we want you to do is take that IP number, get rid of localhost, and get that IP number or that domain name and put it in here the way your provider has told you to. We use Digistream, so I'm going to go ahead and put in that information. And the port number we have is 16,000. And we're going to put in the password. Now, it is very important that you type the information in. If you copy and paste information into your encoder, it is very possible that you will create a blank space somewhere along the way. It could be before an item or after a character. So just be careful. Your best bet is to type it very carefully in here. Under station name, we do suggest that you put something in there other than my station name. So here we're just going to put Digistream Test Server. Under genre, we're going to put various. Oh, and by the way, under station name, it could be your name, it could be the station that you're working with. If you're working for a station, of course, they have formats that they want to follow. Up to you what you put in there, but definitely put something other than what was there as a default. Genre, we're going to keep it at various. Website, if you have a website, you can put it in here, or you can just leave it the way it is. List on public station listing, if you have that checked, your station or your stream will eventually be listed on shoutcast.com. Chances of people actually finding you very slim, since unless you have thousands of listeners, you're not going to be anywhere near the top page. But it's still there. If somebody knows what your station name is, for sake of argument, and they search for that, then it would show up eventually. Enable title streaming is when, if you've gone to web pages for radio stations and you see the name of the song playing, that's because they enable the title streaming. If that was unchecked, you would not be able to see what the song name is that's playing. So once you have all that done, leave everything else the same. Once you have all that done, click OK. And you'll see that down here, encoder number 7, everything has been selected. So we're ready to go. Now, one thing I want to show you, and I'm going to expand this, is you'll see that there's a column here called description. If you're trying to connect, or if you're streaming and Sam discovers a problem, you have the word error show up here, and usually over here you'll have some kind of a code that'll tell you. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to go ahead, double click on the encoder I just created, and I'm going to make an error so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to change that from 16,000 to 1600. I'm going to expand this so you can see it. And I'm going to try to connect. And you can see I have an error, disconnected 10061. If you ever get an error like this, or any other type of error, you definitely want to call your provider and let them know about it, and hopefully they can walk you through possible causes. One thing I do want to clarify is whenever there is an error with the encoder, or whenever you see an error appear, it does not necessarily mean that the server is at fault. And numerous times we've had people tell us of an error, and a simple fix to it was that they needed to reboot their router. That doesn't mean that's what's going to be the fix for you, but keep in mind that it's not always the server. Matter of fact, most times it's not the server. It's either something on the internet. It could be your provider, your computer, your modem, your router. It could be Sam. You could have a corrupted encoder. It could be a number of things. So as you're talking to your provider, please understand that 99.5% of the time, it's probably not the server. Anyway, so I'm going to go back into my encoder, double click on that, and I'm going to correct the error. And again, I'm going to expand this window so you can see this. And I'm going to try and connect to the server again. And I have an invalid password now. So you see it gave me a different error message. So we're going to go ahead and cancel that. And now we're going to make sure that I've got the right password in there. And I think that's it. So let's try it again, shall we? And we're trying to connect, and we are. We are connected now. You'll see that the status says it is encoding. It tells me how long in time I've been encoding, and that just keeps accumulating, and also how much data has been sent to the server. At this point it says 0 because I've not played anything. So I'm going to highlight it again and then turn it off, and now I'm going to shrink it because then we need to start the music. And we're going to start the music. Well, I shouldn't say we're going to start the music. What you want to do is start the encoder first, make sure you're encoding, now play the music. And music is playing, and if I expand this window now, you'll see encoding for 10 seconds and more. And here's the data that's been sent so far and for how long. So we're doing good here. Got a good steady stream, it's healthy, everything's going well. Music is playing, people are listening, everybody's having a great time. When you're done encoding, you want to turn off the sound, turn off the encoder, and it goes back to idle. And that is how you set up an encoder using SAM. Now, again, I do want to reiterate that you may have an older version of SAM, or in the future you may have a newer version of SAM. So there are some things that might be different. So keep that in mind as you watch this video. However, I do hope it helps, and we hope you have some happy streaming. Have a great day.